Good day, YouTube. My name is Dan, and welcome to another episode of Cryptolite. Today, we'll be talking about Tron, one of the most controversial coins on the market. Some people love it and some people hate it, but few people really understand what Tron is all about. To learn everything that you need to know about Tron, keep watching this video. This is Tim Berners-Lee. He is the inventor of the World Wide Web, so he's basically the father of the internet. In his own words, he said he initially created the World Wide Web as an open platform that allows anyone to share information, access opportunities, and collaborate across geographical boundaries. In other words, the internet was always meant to be a decentralized platform. The problem is, as said in this article last year, Internet users are being manipulated by big companies like Facebook, Google, and Twitter, etc., who basically control the internet to spread misinformation and threaten neutrality by picking winners and losers by throttling or blocking services. So in other words, the internet is becoming centralized, controlled by big companies who may not always have our best interests at heart. Now, what has this got to do with Tron? It's because Tron's original vision for the project comes from Tim Berners-Lee himself. The original intention for Tron was that the internet would belong to all mankind instead of a profitable tool for only a fraction of people. On their website, Tron describes itself as the Web 4.0 blockchain debt platform. Let me break this down for you because if you understand this, you understand what Tron is all about. Web 1.0 was basically the original state of the internet, which was basically a collection of static information. Web 2.0 was an interactive and social web, facilitating collaboration with people. So basically it was the emergence of social media and the changing of the use of internet to become a source of communication. Web 3.0, which we have just entered, is about AI in the Internet of Things, where different computer systems with different information can now communicate with each other to provide information about you and I to change how we use the internet. This is why your new smartphone knows how to direct you home on your GPS, even though you've never told it your home address. Or what you Google today automatically pops up as an advertisement on your Facebook tomorrow. So eventually all the devices you use, your TV, your smartphone, the radio in your car, will all be able to interact with each other to exchange information about you and I. That's Web 3.0. From Web 1.0 to Web 3.0, we see that information becomes categorized and pooled for these AIs and big companies to use. So basically the entire internet's information and system is becoming more and more centralized. Now, Web 4.0 is not defined yet because we are not there yet. One version of Web 4.0 could be a super AI system which has all your data and my data. So for example, if you walk into a government bank, from the moment you walk in, the AI who scans you on the camera knows who you are, how much money you have in your bank, any outstanding debts, etc. The other version of Web 4.0 is not becoming more centralized but becoming more decentralized. So in other words, it's a return to the original intention of the internet, where users will be able to protect their privacy and have the freedom of choice about who they give their information to and when. Now, this level of privacy protection can only be offered through the decentralized nature of the blockchain, and this is also the vision of the Tron protocol. Now, Tron is going to start off as a platform. Other blockchain projects will be built on it, but where the end goal of many of the current biggest blockchain projects, example Ethereum, Cardano, Neo, the aim of these projects is to be a very good platform only. Okay, in other words, their roadmaps pretty much end when their mainnet is launched. Tron's platform, though, is only the beginning of its roadmap. In their previous white paper, they outlined 6 steps to get there. Exodus, Odyssey, Great Voyage, Apollo, etc. Those were the 6 steps. But they got a lot of slam because of these headings that didn't sound too serious, so they removed it. But essentially, in their new white paper, the same processes are being described, just in a much more long-winded way. And where the other roadmaps for other projects go for about 2 years, the roadmap for Tron goes for 9 to 10 years. So it's a very, very big and ambitious project. So philosophically speaking, Tron could possibly be the truest decentralized project in terms of remaining true to the original vision of blockchain as well as the internet. Tron is also set up as a not-for-profit organization, stating that surplus profits will not be kept by the members but used for other activities towards the project's end. And this vision has been reviewed and approved by Singapore's Accounting and Corporate Regulatory Authority, the ACRA, and is also subject to Singapore's corporate laws. This is reassuring, guys, because Singapore is a country with very good financial and economic literacy, so they will pick up if you are not legit, and they are also notoriously strict with harsh penalties. So if you wanted to start a scam project, Singapore is the last place on earth you would set up base. Now, Tron had a scandal with his white paper a couple of months ago. It was picked up by HackerNoon that a large part of Tron's white paper was copied or at least overlapped with the Filecoin and IPFS white paper. The original article by HackerNoon has actually been taken down, but there are lots of other news sources quoting the article, so the details of this scandal isn't hard to find. Now, if this is true, this is massive and would totally destroy any confidence in the project, because if you don't have a white paper, you don't actually have a plan and you're not actually doing any work. In other words, you're just a scam. Now, Justin Sun, the CEO of Tron, responded by tweeting immediately that the original white paper was in Chinese and the translations to other languages were done by volunteers. In other words, he was suggesting that the English translation, which was possibly done by a volunteer who had copied and pasted other sources, it wasn't actually the company's fault. And the white paper was immediately removed from their website. Until now, there have been no official announcements about this issue, so for some people, this issue is still unresolved and some people assume Tron is guilty. No one really knows for sure. But to be fair, apart from their English version, none of the other versions were reported to have copy and paste or any missing references. And certainly people took a look at the Chinese white paper and no one seemed to have any problem with the the original language white paper. Now, the big question we have to ask when it comes to a possible white paper scam is, are the team actually doing any work? Okay, again, if the white paper was a scam, it means that behind the scenes there is no actual development and the investors are basically being scammed. So the best place to go for this information is on their GitHub. There is a link to their GitHub on their website, so this is good. They're not hiding it. They are proud to show it. And GitHub is open source, so we can openly see what their developers are doing. This is their GitHub link, and the repository that we want is the Java Tron, and this means that their code is written in Java. So their white paper lays out the plan like the blueprint, but Java is the coding language that they use. And over here, you can see that the commits or submissions is very busy. Okay, there's 2,079 commits over time. If you wanted to, you could scroll back all the way to the very beginning, okay, but you have to scroll back over 2,000 commits. But you would find that the very first commit came out somewhere in the mid-December. I think it was 19th of December, and even then there was a lot of code being uploaded, meaning that they had done quite a bit of work before and then they transferred it over to GitHub to make it open source for people. But since then, there's been quite a consistent input of development, even before the white paper. Meaning that they were doing work before the white paper and they didn't just start doing work after the white paper to show something. There are also 275 people or 276 people who are following this GitHub and 1,121 people who have reviewed the GitHub and liked it. In other words, this project is being scrutinized and has been scrutinized quite in detail. The ultimate proof that they do have a blueprint or white paper will be this weekend when they can release their testnet. If they can produce a working product from all of this coding, then it means they are not a scam and there has been work behind the scenes. But for those who are wondering at this point whether or not to invest before the weekend, up to what we have discussed so far, it's looking like they are a legit project and not a scam. But I will say this, that even if it wasn't their fault and it was a lazy and unethical volunteer's fault that they had a plagiarized English white paper, it is still a big mistake. It was still their ownership to check it before putting it up on their website. The thing is, Tron has never apologized or admitted what they did was wrong, and they haven't explained it clearly, and that is why till today, there are still haters of Tron who will go on their Reddit actively and their YouTube videos actively to keep spreading FUD. And I guess that's the price that Tron has to live with if they don't come out openly to give an apology or explanation. Now, some people hate Tron, even if Tron cured cancer or solved world peace, they would still spread hate and spread FUD on Tron. So while I don't approve of the FUDing, I do think that an apology by Tron to the community over the white paper is overdue. On their website, there is a link called Technical Documents, and there, if you click on that link, you will find 3 articles. The first is What is Tron? The second is Design Book of Tron Architecture, and the third is the Tron Protobuf Protocol document. The Tron Protobuf protocol is too technical, and unless you are a coder, you won't understand it. But the Tron architecture document, though, is a document that provides a simple overview of the project, and we're going to take a look at 2 key aspects of the project. The first is the architecture of the platform. The basic layout of the architecture of the platform is 3 different layers. The first layer is the storage layer, and this is where information is stored on the blockchain. It is obviously decentralized and P2P. The second layer, which is the core layer, is where all the interactions via smart contracts and the actual virtual machine reside. The third layer, which is the application layer, is where the dApps and the wallets reside. dApps simply stand for decentralized applications for those who don't know. Now, their consensus algorithm that they use is called delegated proof of stake, or DPoS. We actually covered delegated proof of stake in our recent CyberMouse review, but for the sake of those who haven't seen that review yet, I'll cover it again briefly. Those of you who already understand DPoS, feel free to skip forward a couple of minutes. So blockchain projects are all decentralized, meaning the information is not processed and stored in one place, rather it is processed and stored on thousands of little silos called nodes. Consensus algorithm refers to the way in which each blockchain project uses these nodes. The classic consensus algorithm is called proof of work. This is what Bitcoin uses. So node owners of Bitcoin have to have a powerful PC with powerful processors and graphics card to process the transactions to store on the blockchain. So node owners then are called miners because they get paid for their effort by finding an occasional Bitcoin in the mining process. Proof of stake is a little bit different and much easier. As the name suggests, you don't need fancy equipment, you just stake or basically hold your crypto, and there's a fancy system that uses it to verify transactions, and at the end of the day, as a token holder, you get paid a certain interest. Now, delegated proof of stake, or DPoS, which is what Tron uses, is also a kind of staking, except that besides getting crypto rewards, you also get influence or voting power. So everyone who is staking has a certain vote power to vote a prominent staker, that means one of the community members, as a witness. Now, the witness is like a masternode, okay? The witness will earn more, but it's also required to do more for the system. If a witness becomes lazy and they're just earning more but not doing more, they can be voted out again by the community. So this feature of delegated proof of stake helps to ensure that all nodes are working hard, and it helps to maintain the decentralization of fairness even at the node level. The most well-known project at the moment using DPoS is the Steemit platform. And to measure the influence a token holder has, Steemit uses an internal currency called Steem Power. So you can change your Steem crypto into Steem Power. It has also been rumored that in future, Tron will also have 2 tokens. One is Tron token, and the other token is called Tron Power. And Tron Power will be used to help measure the influence of its token holders. The conversion between the 2 currencies will also be 1:1, but because it is a staking mechanism, okay, to convert from Tron to Tron Power will be immediate, but to convert from Tron Power to Tron tokens might take a while, meaning a few days or a few weeks. So we will have to wait for more information about this development, and I foresee this information really coming out only closer to mainnet launch in May. Now, the rest of the features outlined in this document include things like storage structure, digital asset module, smart contracts, virtual machine, third-party applications, token migration, is common sense stuff, and community plan. So these are all pretty standard features for most blockchain platforms, and none of their features really stand out compared to any of the other blockchain platforms, so I won't mention more. One thing worth mentioning about here that makes them stand out as a platform is their very cheap transaction fees. Okay, currently the cheapest transaction fees I know for any platform is Stellar, and Stellar Network charges roughly 1 cent for 60,000 transactions at the moment. And this cheap transaction fee is one of the reasons why Stellar is one of the most popular ICO platforms this year. Now, Tron is even cheaper, charging the equivalent of 1 cent for 200,000 transactions. So this is less than 1/3 of Stellar's. So this makes Tron network, be the cheapest transaction fee on the market, and this is going to be really attractive for potential users. Now, another important feature of the Tron network is that it is aiming at the entertainment industry. Now, we mentioned before that blockchain platform business is very lucrative, and that's why half of the top 10 projects are all platform projects. But the platforms to look out for are the ones that aren't just generic platforms, but the ones that target a specific niche. For example, CyberMouse targets e-commerce projects. Dragon Chain introduces an incubator feature to target companies who have low-tech expertise and need a lot of hand into getting into blockchain. And here, we see Tron targeting the entertainment business, including social media. I think this is very smart and intentional because there isn't any entertainment platform yet, and to be the primary platform designed for entertainment projects means you open yourself up to a lot of avenues like gaming, social media, etc., major users of the internet, meaning a lot of business. Secondly, if we go back to Tron's original vision, which is to combat against the centralization of the internet, that really happened in Web 2.0 and is still happening in Web 3.0, and the main avenue for centralization of the internet has been social media and entertainment. So it makes sense to target this industry. It's basically killing two birds with one stone. I think it's a very clever move by Tron to target such a niche. Okay, now at this point, let's take a look at their team. The CEO is of course the famous Justin Sun. What I find funny is that everyone else on the website is wearing a Tron t-shirt except Justin Sun. Now, Justin Sun is an outstanding entrepreneur. He's the CEO of Paywall and Tron, the former chief representative for Greater China of Ripple. He's Forbes 30/30 in 2015 and again in 2017. Some say he's the protege of Jack Ma, CEO of Alibaba, but he himself has never claimed that and is not in the resume. The link came because Justin was handpicked by Jack Ma to study at the Hoopen University for Entrepreneurs, and this is a very highly esteemed university in the Asian world with acceptance rates that are lower than Princeton. But basically, that's the only link they have, and the rumors grew and grew, and there's really no concrete evidence to say that Justin Sun is the current protege of Jack Ma. What he is, though, is a very excitable person who hypes up the project a lot. Okay? He tweets a lot and he leaves teasers for the Tron community about upcoming partnerships, etc. So some people hate that kind of behavior and they hate him. Other people love that kind of behavior and they will follow him to the end of the world. The way I see this is just reflective of life. In life, there are some very excitable people that may appeal to you or not. If you like them, you hang out with them. But if you don't like them, you can just avoid them. But you don't have to hate them for being who they are. This guy is very excited about his project, and that's kind of good to know that he's excited. In contrast to Justin Sun, Ishi, the founder of Odyssey Coin, who's one of their major partners, is very quiet about Oldcoin. And then the Oldcoin community are now complaining about how Ishi doesn't seem to care about the project. So whether you are quiet or you are shilling, it seems that you are going to get flagged as the CEO. It just seems that you cannot please everyone. Other members of the Tron team, which sadly no one else ever talks about, includes their CTO, whose name is Lucian Chen, who has a previous employment with NetEase, Tencent, and Juho. Marcus Zhao, who is their technical director, who has previously served in Alibaba, Dangding, Zhenming Group, China Institute of Electronic Research, and other super enterprises. Their product manager is Wendy Yi, previous senior product manager of Baidu, and there's a spelling error on the website. We shall forgive them. Haoqi Zhao is their technical operations director, whose only description is early participation of blockchain communities builders. And Oliver Zhang is their technical manager, previous employee of Alibaba, and also profound achievements in search technology, distributed computing, and big data platform. Overall, the impression the team gives is an impression of a very young team. Also, in terms of their roles, it's very tech heavy. There is no marketing person here unless you consider Justin Sun making up for all the marketing lack by himself, which in all fairness, he probably does. But just looking at the team, they strike as young and maybe a little bit imbalanced. Also, if you scroll down, you notice that there is no list of advisors as you would normally see with a blockchain project of this size. In their previous website, they had a list of investors. I'm not sure if those investors were also advisors, but those names have been taken out of the current website. I'm sure they're still there, they just weren't listed on the website. What this potentially means is that as a team, they might make unnecessary mistakes on their journey because they don't have the experience or wise advice to help them. Even Justin himself is under 30 years old. So it's a very, very young team. It might also affect their market penetration into the Western world, especially because we've often seen with the bigger companies in the Western world, a lot of the inroads to having a partnership with the big Western companies start with recommendations from advisors or recommendations from inside people. Tron has quite a few partners considering they haven't even launched their testnet yet. Their partners include Paywall App, which is Justin Sun's first company, which is an online audio content website with over 10 million registered users. They also have a wallet now that's integrated with Tron token that you can use to do social tipping. Another partner of theirs that is quite prominent is Obike, which is one of the world's biggest bike sharing company, boasting over 10 million users. Odyssey Ocoin is another blockchain project that's very closely linked to Obike, with the two projects having the same founder, Ishi. And Odyssey Protocol have announced that they will be moving to Tron mainnet when it is up. Game.com with their first blockchain Tron Docs is also a major partner of Tron. Now, Tron Docs is actually a really bad game at the moment, so I don't think it's actually doing favors by being linked to Tron. I won't talk about it now, but it may get better in the future, and I hope it does. But right now, in my impression, Tron Docs is a very flawed game. Another one of their partners is Github, who is a social media platform with over 10 million users, and there are many other partners as well. I think their latest partner was BitGuild, which specializes in blockchain gaming. I guess what all these partners mean is that when Tron's mainnet is eventually launched and all these projects jump on board, where a lot of protocols or platform projects, right, they launch their platform and then they have to wait or look for people to jump on and use their platform. With Tron's platform will almost immediately have one of the biggest user base in the world from the word go. Now, talking about the platform and the platform use, now is probably a good time to talk about token mechanics, because a project can be great, but the token price isn't going to rise unless the token is being used. Now, what are the potential usages of the token or the coin once they launch their own mainnet? The answer is huge. The platform will host various blockchain projects, and over time, the idea is to build up an ecosystem with a lot of interactions between these projects. The ecosystem will attract more projects of the same nature, and all interactions will be done with Tron token. So the bigger the platform grows, basically, the more the token price will rise. That's why Ethereum is the second biggest coin on the market at the moment, even though it's the second slowest platform on the market. It's because of its early mover advantage, and he currently has the most number of projects on his platform and the highest token use. But in addition to this, Tron's token also has another potential use, which is almost every one of these projects are entertainment or social media based, which means that within the project itself, there's a lot of token use. So for example, if Obike started accepting crypto as payment, they could potentially accept Ocoin as well as Tron tokens. So you will see Tron tokens being used to rent bicycles. Paywall, as we already seen, is using Tron for social media tipping, so that's another avenue for the token usage. So the potential use of Tron token can only go up once its testnet and mainnet are launched. So if we say that a currency worth goes up the more it's used and goes down the less that is used, Tron's token price is probably or possibly the lowest it will ever be now, assuming that the market doesn't do a bigger bear dive. The last thing about token is that the coin burn has been announced this week, or will be announced this week. Now, a lot of people seem to have this impression that it's going to be a big sudden burn and the price will suddenly jump because of the sudden reduction in supply. But I think they have mentioned before that the coin burn is not going to be a once-off big burn, but it's similar to ripples, meaning that a small amount is burned per transaction. What we are waiting for then is the details of this small burn over time. So example, the limit of the burn per year, or when the coin burn will stop. Tron has a huge supply of 100 billion, so they have a lot of coin to burn, okay? But as token investors anyway, any sort of coin burn is good news, so sit tight and wait for the news. It just may not be as sudden and as quick as some people seem to have the impression that it will be. trying to take a look at their roadmap, there is no roadmap actually. They have a trajectory. Now there used to be a description roadmap involving the 6 stages, but that has been removed from the white paper and the website, and currently there is no roadmap. Okay, fortunately, Justin Sun is such a shiller that he announces any exciting news way beforehand anyway, and he has announced that the mainnet launch will be on the 31st of May. But besides saving us to have to follow his tweets, a proper roadmap would offer accountability of the team as well as to know that they are organized and doing regular work. It's like an accountability factor that the community deserves. The timeline they offer on their website ends at the first quarter of 2018, so basically on this Saturday. And even then, the information is wrong. They say it's the testnet and mainnet launch, but as we just saw, Justin Sun has already announced that the mainnet launch is on the 31st of May, and this Saturday is only the testnet launch. There are other milestones that we want to know in the project, like when is their wallet going to be released, when is their scalability solution going to be released, but none of this information is available to us as investors. So I'm not a fan that they don't have a roadmap. A couple of other considerations I have about the project include their transaction speed. Okay, it's been announced that their transaction speed is initially starting anywhere between 1,000 to 2,500 transactions per second. And according to the white paper, it's also planned to scale to match Visa speed, which is currently about 45,000 transactions per second. So that will be very decent speed in the current market. But taking note that there are faster projects like HPB and EOS who are claiming speeds like 1 million transactions per second in the future. Also, I'm not sure that 1,000 to 2,000 transactions per second, even 40,000 or 45,000 transactions per second may be enough for Tron given the scope of what they want to do. If you look at CryptoKitties, right, one game alone crippled the entire Ethereum network last year. Ethereum is very slow though, okay? The transaction speed is anywhere between 60 to 30 transactions per second. So much slower than what Tron will be. But you got to understand that Tron wishes to host not just one game, but many games, not just many games, but many game companies on top of everything else, okay? And it needs to be able to scale very hard to cope with that kind of pressure. And now in their white paper, they do say that they will be scalable, and they say that Tron blockchain can be extended through the sidechain. But what does that exactly mean? So through the sidechain, does that mean something like sharding, maybe Raiden? But their scaling solution is something that I, as a potential investor, would like to know more about. Also, as well, where does it sit on their time frame? Is it something that's going to happen in the next 6 months or in the next 6 years? The second consideration I have is about the cost of the transaction fee. As we mentioned before, their transaction fee is very cheap. It's possibly going to be the cheapest transaction fee for the platform on the in the whole blockchain world. Oh, now Stellar is currently already facing criticism over its cheap transactions, with fear that whilst the cheap transactions are very attractive, the fees are simply too cheap to affect token prices. So then token holders are unhappy because the Stellar price doesn't go up because the fees are just too cheap. Now, Tron's transaction fees are going to be less than 1/3 that of Stellar's. This will make them the cheapest transaction fee, very attractive for platform business. But as a token investor, at the end of the day, what I want to see is the token price rise. So even if they're used a lot, but the token price doesn't rise, then it's no use to me. So it's needless to say, they will attract the large volume, but it remains to see if their volume can make up for the low fees. Okay, currently, even with the millions of potential, tens of millions of potential users, I think that the numbers still don't quite add up, and it would still be enough of concern. Finally, price prediction. We've got a very exciting week coming up with testnet launch and expected news of a coin burn. I've seen some news and videos say that mainnet is due to be launched as well, and that's probably because they got the news of either that dodgy roadmap or dodgy time map, or websites like coincalendar.com. But it's actually not true, and as mentioned before, Justin Sun had tweeted that the mainnet is only due to be released on 31st of May. Now, if we look at the graph here, since January, Tron has taken one of the most brutal beatings in crypto history that I know of. I know we've had a bad market run in general, and many Tron coins are down 60%, 70%, but Tron at one point went down to over 90% of its January 30 cents high. Now, this was probably a combination of factors like overcorrection, white paper scandal, the bear market, etc. Over the past few days, over the weekend, Tron's been doing really well, at one point going up 25% in 24 hours, and this is all in expectation of the upcoming news. Since then, it's corrected itself a little bit, but that's because the market itself has also been correcting. Now, the main factor I think that will help us as potential investors to decide over the next few days whether or not it will be worth buying into Tron before the testnet release will be one thing called the volume. Okay, currently Tron's trading volume is sitting about 300 million, which is kind of highish in the market. Tron, even though it's sitting on number 13 in the market, traditionally has always had one of the top 5 trading volumes on the biggest exchange like Binance, so it's a very popular coin with a high trading volume in general. Okay, but 300, while it's high, it's not enough for it to gain momentum for a bull run. Okay, in fact 300 million is probably a bit lower. 2 days ago we're sitting about 600 million, so we've actually halved the trading volume. This could be a sign that we are losing momentum after the initial buy. Okay, what I would like to see is for the volume to pick up somewhere about 450, 500, even 600. Then I would have some confidence that it's picking up momentum again before testnet launch. I do expect it to pick up momentum closer to the testnet date, which is this Saturday in 4 days time. Okay, but this is assuming that there's no major bad news that drags the market down, because as we've seen over the last few weeks to last 3 months, the bad news seems to be coming every 1 to 2 weeks, and when it does, it just seems to drag the whole market down. And Tron has always followed the market. When the market crashes, Tron crashes especially hard. When the market rises, Tron tends to rise exceptionally well. So if the market is crashing despite the good upcoming news of the testnet, Tron's rise may be quite anchored, if not even dragged down a little bit. Now, will Tron go back to 30 cents after the testnet this weekend? I've seen YouTube videos that have clickbait titles like Tron to $5, Tron to $10 after testnet. I think that's maybe a little overhyped. Yeah, I think that 30 cents for Tron in January was maybe overhyped in itself, and that's part of the reason why when they crash so hard. So if Tron was going to have a bull run now, I'd rather they go to something more reasonable like 10 cents or 15 cents and hold the gains rather than go unrealistically high and then crash hard. Realistically, I think if Tron hits 10 cents, I think that would be a very good week already. And this may disappoint some people who are hoping for a more positive predictions. I'm not a professional, I could be wrong, but I don't see Tron crossing 10 cents this weekend. I hope I'm wrong. Okay. Now, one last caution about putting money into Tron this week, especially if you are in for the short-term gains, is to watch carefully for the first sign of dumps. And this dump won't be done by the whales, which is completely unpredictable, but rather by its own community. Now, a lot of people have been hodling losses for Tron since January, all right? And so even on their own social media, people have said very clearly that if Tron reaches milestones like 20 cents or 30 cents, they're going to sell and be happy with the big gains that they made because they bought Tron at 3 cents or 4 cents. Okay. If you really understand Tron is actually a hodl project, and we're talking about not hodl for a few months, we're talking about hodl for a few years. But I just get the feeling from just doing a lot of reading out there that the token investors in general are in for the short-term gains, and there's a lot of people getting very impatient already. So there isn't a magic number when the sell-off will happen. I suspect that at every price milestone, 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents, if it ever gets there will be major sell-offs, all right? So make sure that you look at the buy and sell walls on your exchange, something like Binance, okay? And if you're in it for the short-term gains, okay, to make sure that you don't miss out on the pump, or make sure that you don't miss out on the dump. But if you believe in the project and are willing to hodl for 2 years or more, I honestly believe that the price will rise very, very, very much, and this project will be a worthy hodl. So in conclusion, I don't think that Tron is a scam. I think they are a very ambitious project with a very young team behind them who keep making mistakes because they don't have the weight of age and experience to guide them. But philosophically speaking, if you understand the project, it is very true to blockchain's philosophy of decentralization, and it makes you as a blockchain supporter want to support them. The actual project is very clever and it has a niche market and should see long-term huge gains. I do foresee them facing scalability issues at some point and also pricing issues with too cheap transactions. I don't like the fact that they don't have a roadmap. My long-term prediction for them is good. The short-term is depending on the market. And I don't think they will moon this weekend, but I do think they will have a good week compared to other coins. My caution for short-term investors this week is to look for the buy and sell walls to avoid getting dumped on. Now, one last thing I want to say is I know there are a lot of people who still hate Tron, but hear me on this. As a crypto community, we are already facing a lot of attacks from outside sources like governments and banks who would like nothing better than to see the whole crypto world collapse. Every team behind every blockchain project is currently under a lot of stress. As the crypto community, we gain nothing by flooding other projects. Don't jump onto their Reddit if you hate Tron just to hate Tron in their comments. And don't jump onto the YouTube comments just to hate people who support Tron. I mean, there may be aspects of a project that we disagree with, but at the end of the day, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. So let's try and build a healthy and respectful atmosphere in the crypto space. That's my opinion. Alright guys, that's it from me, everything that you need to know about Tron. I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you liked this video or found it helpful, do click on our like and subscribe. We are building a collection of good reviews for various coins, so feel free to check those out too. As always, none of the above is professional advice, just me sharing my thoughts and my crypto journey with you. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are, and we will catch you guys tomorrow.